Step 2 in the practice of non-suffering is to not overvalue the mind. The physical body is the foundation the mind is built on. The exact location of the brain is known. The brain can be seen, touched, dissected, and scanned. The brain's gray and white matter, its soft and squishy moist folds and creases, its neurons and synapses, and its neural pathways are a predictive machine, allowing one to calculate the path of a projectile, such as a football, or the flight path of a frisbee or a boomerang. The wondrous material of the brain is also an image projector, a data collection device, a pattern recognition apparatus, a musical instrument, and much, much more. The physical brain is the grounds the mind plays on. On this playground of the brain, the mind is able to perform its thoughts, hopes, and dreams. The mind is an emergent property of the actual physical material of the brain that is encased and protected by the actual physical bones of the cranium. So, what is the mind? The mind is an amazing, incredible, versatile tool, having many different abilities and purposes and jobs. The mind is the storyteller of one's stories, the wisher of one's wishes, the thinker of one's thoughts, and the rememberer of one's memories. For these reasons, the mind and its abilities are often the only part of the human experience a huge majority of people value. Most prioritize the mind's special aspects ahead of the body and all of its amazing and special features and abilities. Along with the mind comes many fears, the greatest of these fears being losing one's mind. The fear of losing one's memories, the fear of losing one's thinking capabilities, and the fear of losing one's identity, and the fear of disappearing. There is very little fear of the actual loss of the physical matter of the brain, but what happens to the emergent mind when the loss of the actual physical material of the brain? The interesting and observed paradox is that the mind often plays a very large part in the loss of the physical matter of the brain. Thus, the mind takes a very active role in its own demise. This active role the mind has in its own demise can be avoided when the reality of how dependent the mind and body are on each other. The goal in the practice of non-suffering is to create and facilitate an integrated and complete human experience. The mind is divided into two parts, the conscious mind and the subconscious mind. The iceberg analogy is very appropriate here. The conscious mind is the visible part of the iceberg above the water. This is the part of the mind that is accessible. The subconscious mind is the part of the iceberg that is submerged below the water. The subconscious part is by far the largest portion of the mind. This subconscious part is not accessible. Timothy D. Wilson states in his 2002 book, A Stranger to Ourselves, the human body is processing 11 million pieces of information per second. The most liberal estimate for the amount of information the conscious mind can handle is 40 pieces of information per second. I will repeat that. The most liberal estimate for the amount of information the conscious mind can handle is 40 pieces of information per second. That is only a very small fraction of a fraction of a fraction of the total mind. But even with only 40 pieces of information per second, the conscious mind gets easily overwhelmed. It is the conscious mind, the conscious portion of the mind, that the practice of non-suffering can deal with. Again, step 2 in the practice of non-suffering is to not overvalue the conscious mind and to truly value the body, the foundation of the mind, both the subconscious portion and the conscious portion. I thank you very much for your time and indulgence. Please enjoy and be comfortable.